TV. The final whistle has gone at the Emirates. It's finished. Arsenal 1, Leicester 1. Jerry, how do you sum up that full 90 minutes?
Well, I think, obviously at the beginning of the game, or certainly after 15 or 20 minutes, we were like, if we get away with a point, we've done brilliantly. But that second half, I think the whole of the second half, even when Arsenal had 11 men on the pitch, Leicester were coming back in there anyway. And obviously the 10 men helped Leicester even more. But it's all right saying, playing against 10 men, you should have an advantage. Sometimes when you're chasing a goal, it becomes, you can get frustrated as the attacking team trying to break a 10-man team down, because they know what they've got to do. They've got to sit back, protect the goal, and all they don't have to do is concede. So for Leicester to get on the score sheet, well, the way they did was exceptional. And obviously, by the end of that game, there was only ever one team in it. Arsenal were clueless going forward. Well, the manager even stuck a midfielder on up top because, as Matt alluded to, they took off their front three, and it was all about clinging on in the end for Arsenal. So you've got to say, good point, but more importantly, the performance tonight, especially in that second half, fantastic.
The words there of former Leicester City defender Jerry Taggart seem to echo, Matt, what the Leicester fans are saying on social media. Just looking at the Leicester tweet at full time, they're all saying, yep, decent point in the end. Certainly probably would have taken that before the game anyway. Or certainly would have taken it at 1-0 down.
Yeah, but then that's what I mentioned about, emotions and viewpoints change, don't they? Because at the end of that game, you're frustrated Leicester haven't won it. And you wouldn't be saying that after half an hour, would you? But, I think that's what, on reflection, all things considered, decent point, very good performance, especially when you consider it looked quite perilous, didn't it, in the first half, despite Leicester playing reasonably well. Even then, it was just dealing with that three-pronged attack from Arsenal, and the quality of Ceballos, when he was able to get his head up and pick a pass. But Aubameyang, Lacazette, Saka looked as sharp as anything you'll see. But they fizzled out, didn't they, bizarrely? And credit to Leicester, Jerry mentioned there, midway through the second half, they've come to terms with the threat that Arsenal posed, and that takes some doing, to be fair, because they got a little bit of a runaround at times defensively, and we're at 6s and 7s, slightly fortunate. To only concede the one goal. Kasper Schmeichel was in wonderful form, as he has been regularly of late. And the longer the game went, the more the tide turned, didn't it? And Leicester had their opportunities in the first half, but second half it was not one-way traffic. That's probably a bit of an exaggeration, but only one team who really, were trying to change the course of the game. And they very nearly did so to a dramatic effect, didn't they? And I don't know, I suppose slightly disappointed that they didn't force enough pressure in that closing 15 minutes, inclusive of the 8 minutes of extra time as well. But one or two light scares later on, they couldn't replicate the opportunity that Vardy converted. But I think when he looks at it overall, most people, I'm sure the supporters that are writing in or sending messages in now, not too many of them will differ from that view, really, because it was quite an encouraging night all round, really.
Walsh, that game pretty much summed up Premier League football, didn't it? It was fast-paced, it was frenetic at times. Both sides probably disappointed with the draw, but then on the same token, both sides will have been happy with the draw as well.
Of course they would, but it was a terrific contest, to be honest with you. I think Mikel Arteta will be relieved that they've got a point out of it in the end, because we are disappointed in here as well as the lads. I bet they're thinking, well, if we'd have just pushed it a little bit more in them latter stages there, then we could have forced that winner. But just that final bit of ruthlessness, that composure in front of goal, that bit of quality could have finished that game off before then. When you look back over all the game, I think that Arsenal did look like for 15, 20 minutes they were going to run riot, and we were all over the place at the back, but we found that composure you know, and had the majority. 3/4 of this game was ours. There's no doubt about that. So when you look at the quality of them front three, they did fizzle out in the second half, and it's just about being clinical. For me, there was, you know, we got into good positions, and that's the difference. It's a small margins, and yet other teams seem to finish them chances off. So it's annoying to be doing everything right, and then just suddenly just one or two bits of not composure and that quality. So overall, though, I feel hard done by a little bit, and still, it's a good point when you look at it overall. It could have been 3. It's not, and it's still, everything's in our hands again.
Remember, you guys at home can get involved with the show City on the Sofa quite easily. Send us your thoughts and how you feel at the end of that game on social media. You can do so by using the hashtag LCFC or hashtag ThenNowAgain. A number of you have already done that on social media. We can take a look at some of those now. Albert says draw was probably fair. Arsenal played better first half. And we were better second half. If it wasn't for a poor decision in the first half, we'd have won 2-1. He credits Brendan Rodgers for the formation in that one. Simon Bilson says simple then. Beat Sheffield United and Bournemouth. Whatever happens at Spurs happens. And then a final day shootout against Manchester United, which will win. So he's confident of finishing in that top 4. Paul says some strange things have happened in 2020, but Leicester City not losing away at Arsenal is right up there. And finally, Arlo White, a friend of our show here, says brilliant response by LCFC in the second half. Totally dominant before the red card. Fully deserved the point. Brendan Rodgers used his bench very well. And Damari Gray was a big threat in the final third when he came on. Matt, do you agree with Arlo there, particularly the Damari Gray point? Obviously, he set up the goal for Jamie Vardy at the end.
Yeah, it was good contribution by Damari Gray, as it more often than not is when he comes in off the bench. He has that freshness and that energy about his game. You just want to see that, throughout the duration of 90 plus minutes, when he's as tired as the other players on the pitch. Now, I don't know whether it's a physical thing or whether it's his mental approach or whatever. It's something that different managers, and I'm sure Damari himself, have tried to address, but, to varying degrees of success. But there's a talent there, without a doubt. There is a talent. There's, an erratic edge to his play. Sometimes, I think there was a couple of opportunities this evening where he's got himself in good positions and didn't see the opportunity perhaps as quick as he might have, but then ultimately he came up with the goods, and he does that semi-regularly, doesn't he? Whether it's a strike himself or an assist or a contribution, and he's come up trumps this evening. And Brendan Rodgers, again using that word invariably, substitutions do prove beneficial, don't they? One way or another, but I don't know. He's got to be frustrated himself, Damari Gray, because he's got enough about him, or more about him, than just to be a little super sub impact role. He wants to get a regular slot in the starting lineup, but his performances haven't warranted that regularly enough, have they? But I don't know. There's a lot of talent in there. It's just applying it, isn't it? And learning to utilise it more regularly and consistently. And I don't know, there's no magic formula for that. I think sometimes, sooner or later, the penny's got to drop, hasn't it, a little bit? But without doubt, the capability is there.
Jerry, we've seen VAR get involved with a number of these Leicester games since the resumption of Premier League football, some for the good, some not for good, and this evening we saw the red card that was given by VAR for Arsenal, and at the end we almost thought for a second, didn't we, that Jamie Vardy equaliser was going to be ruled out.
Yeah, I think, you've seen it being used to good effect. I've always been harping on about referees not going over to the monitors to make their own minds up. They're taking advice from people watching a TV screen. Why can't they go over a bit more often to these monitors? I think the right decision was taken at the time, but what was different about this evening was that the referee went over and had a look, and maybe that should have happened, you know, with a Kelechi and Nacho goal, which was given a free kick, but given by the, you know, the assistant referee who couldn't possibly have seen what was happening because she was blindsided by Kelechi and Nacho. So good and bad again from VAR. But when it's used in the right way, it's a force for good. There's no doubt about that.
I think that's the frustration that we saw in a couple of those tweets that came in from you guys watching at home, wasn't it, Walsh? That they referenced that moment in the first half, the Kelechi Iheanacho disallowed goal, and upon replay, it seemed very, very harsh to give a foul against a striker. Yeah,
it's certainly controversial, is VAR, as we know. But for me, Kelechi was, you know, professionally blocked and ended up pulling him back. Okay, but for me, you know, once you start going back to things like that, there's nothing in that. Harsh, but you know, it's happened, and you've got to get on with it these days, haven't you? Just forget about it. Otherwise, you'd be pulling your hair out. But still, it's had a say in the game, and it made the controversy even more so. But to a terrific game, I thought it was end-to-end stuff at times, and for two really good teams, and you know, really, there was some lovely football at times. There's some class things. Just like I said, just that composure and that ruthlessness at times for Leicester just cost us. But really, you know, Brendan will be very pleased to be positive with this performance and the last performance against Crystal Palace. So we're back to, you know, Jamie Vardy's looking like he's got that appetite, got that kind of, you know, where he can smell blood. He's like a predator, isn't he? When he's at it, and he's got that support. I think that once you go a little bit more direct for Jamie, he seems to be more passionate about it and just chases every lost cause. You see him closing people down, and it was just brilliant to see that we're actually back to some way towards what we were at the start of the season, how we started it so well.
As Walshy was saying there, Jerry, Jamie Vardy's got this incredible record of scoring against Arsenal. 10 goals now in 10 starts against the Gunners, and once that ball came across, you had no doubt that he was going to put it away.
Oh, it's fantastic. It was a fantastic move. You know, it was a patient build-up. The cross was excellent. Jamie Vardy picks up that little bit of space between the centre half and the full-back, the back post. No one knows where he is. And for whatever reason, Arsenal cannot shake this guy off. You know, as you just mentioned, his goal-scoring record against Arsenal is quite phenomenal. And you can only see it continue. And when he is hungry, when he gets the service that he deserves, there's only one outcome. We've seen it against Palace. We've seen it again tonight. That's what he relies on more often than not when the ball is in and around it. But he needs that service. We've seen it tonight. And he comes up with the goods time and time again.
Well, Walshy told me off during the game, didn't he, Matty, when I brought up the subplot of Jamie Vardy against Aubameyang in the race for the Golden Boot. But they've both scored this evening, so Vardy retains that 2-goal cushion at the top.
Yeah, but it's not about that. It's about Leicester defence. No, exactly. Yeah, what a race. I mean, Danny Ings is in the chase as well, isn't he, amongst others? Jamie Vardy just keeping himself just ahead of the field, is he now?
Ings is four goals behind him, I think, Matt, now.
Four goals, is it? Well, that's a decent gap. You wouldn't imagine that getting close. But Vardy, I didn't realise Vardy was 2 ahead now. So, yeah, fair play to him, doesn't he? You know, he's given a good response there, hasn't he, on a personal level. And, you know, in terms of representing his team as well. Just Aubameyang and Arsenal just thinking, you know, they like to... As we've seen before, they can sort of get ahead of themselves a touch, shall we say. And Leicester, I think Arsenal probably learnt their lesson by now, to be honest. But Leicester just reminded them that, you know, that there's a lot of work to be done, both for individual honours and to gain anything, you know, as a collective. And Leicester will always do that. They'll always give their all. And Jamie Vardy's a great example to his fellow teammates in terms of that. keeps applying himself brilliantly, doesn't he? You know, whether things are going well for him or not, more often than not they are. And Brendan Rodgers, you know, he encapsulated it at the weekend. It was only a matter of time before Jamie got his 100-goal mark. Before we know it, he's looking for his 103rd soon, isn't he? You know, that's the quality of player we're talking about.
Yeah, what I really liked as well, Dan, tonight was, you know, Rodgers' substitutions, taking Bennett off, taking Ndidi, you know, and bringing on the Gray, which immediately when Nketiah got sent off, he's brought Demore Gray on. And the timing of his substitution were superb tonight. And, you know, you've got to look. It was really, he was going for it. He really wanted to win that game, as you can see, and that's what I like about him. He really is a winner, and he wants to win, and he does everything to win. It was great, and Leicester, you know, you look at that performance. For me, it was great. It was back to kind of how we can be, apart from that 15-20 minute spell where we did look vulnerable.
At the end of the day, Walshy, Leicester scored because they went to 4-4-2, like I said.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you're right, Matt. And, you know, that's the older, you know, classic formation, isn't it?
Yeah, Brendan got it right in the end.
Yes, he did. Yes.
Well, not even 4-4-2, was it? A bit of a wonky 4-4-2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that, of course, led to the goal. We've got some reaction now from the Athletic's Rob Tanner.
Well, in the end, a point for Leicester City, only the second Premier League point they've ever got at Arsenal, and I think they would take that in light of the first half performance when Arsenal could have been 2 or 3 up at the break, but they came back, they showed the spirit, and even before the red card, I thought Leicester had stepped it up the second half, even though Rodgers resisted the temptations to change the formation, and I thought that was a much better performance second half. I thought Tielemans was pulling some strings in midfield. Jamie Vardy getting his inevitable goal against Arsenal. That's his 10th in 10 appearances against Arsenal. He really does love playing against the Gunners. No wonder he turned them down in 2016 when they came in for him. But in the grand scheme of things, after the results earlier in the night and Chelsea going above Leicester, that's just what they needed, really, a point. I know a victory would have been perfect result, but they haven't won there since 1973, so we can't be too greedy, but overall, a point keeps them on track.
Jerry, do you agree with Rob Tanner there? He says Leicester pretty much will be happy with that point at the Emirates this evening.
I think so. I think you've got to be happy. You know, when you look at Leicester's recent and distant form playing away to Arsenal, then it hasn't been great. You know, it's as simple as that. I think Arsenal have won the last 12 meetings, whether it be at the Emirates or whether it be at the old Highbury ground. So to come away with a point, even though the game ended the way it did, then you've got to settle for that. You know, as managers and coaches, you'll have a board where you'll give yourself, you know, a points tally where you think you can get to throughout a certain section of games. So there's a 9-game season left. Brendan will have a numbers tally that he will think he should be able to achieve between the first game after lockdown until the last game. And tonight, you had to put a point when big question mark. So they've got the point. And I think that's a really, really important achievement tonight. After we've seen the first 3 or 4 games go against Leicester, they then hit back on Saturday against Palace and again go to Arsenal where, as I've just said, their form has not been great. And to get a point means that snowball keeps rolling into the next game. You know, away to Bournemouth, a game that is very, very winnable. Bournemouth struggling. And so momentum stays with Leicester. There's no disgrace in coming away from the Emirates tonight with just the point. And that will keep that momentum and that will keep that confidence rolling over to Sunday.
Yeah, Jerry referenced the game with Bournemouth. We can take a look at Leicester's next 3 fixtures in the Premier League, Matty, starting with that game against Bournemouth on Sunday evening. Then after that one, of course, it's Sheffield United. So what do you expect in these next 3 games for Leicester?
Yeah, but the game's ticking by pretty quickly, aren't they? You know, it wasn't that long ago that we were, coming into the 9-game finish towards the end of the season, and they're rattling by. They're rattling by, aren't they? Listen, all of a sudden, the games are looking more and more winnable, aren't they? I think, one, because of the form and the situation, the position of the opposition. You know, Sheffield United's European dream is certainly any faint hopes, if they ever were realistic, I suppose they were at one stage, of a Champions League spot, seem to have dwindled. Same with Tottenham, you know, when you look at it, and that's a tough proposition for them. Their motivation levels are dropping. They're not, listen, quality players they've got, they're not as intimidating as they were certainly a couple of seasons ago, or let's say even 15 games or so ago. And, you know, Sheffield United, both of them win a ball, and of course, Jerry mentions Bournemouth. It goes without saying that they're having a struggle. They're in the relegation zone. The confidence is in shreds at the moment. And, you know, the more you look at it, and that in conjunction with how well Leicester are playing now, they're picking up a little bit of a head of steam. Not before time, people will say, but, you know, slow start, wasn't it? And Everton, I think unfortunate, but there were signs. Crystal Palace, not bad at all. But, you know, got the goals and presented the opportunities as well, but they capitalised, got the result. And then tonight, again, against better quality opposition, very unlucky not to get all 3 points ultimately, although it was looking rocky in the first half. But, you know, all the signs are that Leicester are improving and the opposition's fortunes are fading at the moment. Man United aside, of course. I can't help but get away from the feeling, which I've had for a couple of weeks or so now, that it will all depend on that final game. But I'd like to think that Leicester could get the job done prior to that. You know, wouldn't that be lovely? If they could ensure a Champions League slot and just welcome Man United here with open arms if they want, if that's the case.
I think
a lot of football to play between now and then.
I think you're right. I think Man United now are probably the only threat looking at this league position now. We're 7 points in front of Wolves. Okay, they've got a game in hand. Man United are 4 points behind us now with a game in hand. Now that takes 2 games to catch us up. But so the pressure's on everyone else because, you know, one slip up and that's it. It's all over for them. You know, I think. Personally,
I think you're right there. Well, people forget that when you're chasing one slip, and it's
a hard job doing that. And for me now, the race is between Chelsea, Man United, and Leicester now, just as the threat is now. You look at your next couple of games, and they are very, very winnable.
You can see the league table on.
There's
on
the league table,
now.
so it makes sense now that I think, you know, for the chasing Wolves, I think it's just a bit too far for them now. I think your Man United are right bang in form. They're scoring plenty of goals. The goal difference is great. Not as good as ours, but still, you know, they are competing, and they're the only team now that can really knock us out of the Champions League spot, I think. But I still think we'll make it. I think the next 2 games are vital. Tottenham is very winnable. We'll do it the hard way. We'll have to go to, you know, at home against Man United. We'll probably need to win and go and win. But let's see.
Matty, I know it's early to talk about it, but the goal difference could be a huge factor.
Huge. I mean, there's all sorts of permutations, aren't there? But listen, if Leicester were to go and win, that's a big ask, don't get me wrong. You're going to win their next 3 games. The Man U situation could be out of the equation by then. In fact, more than likely would be. But mind you, the Man U's running is.
But 2 weeks ago,
we winnable as well.
I can read that running now for Manchester United. They've got Aston Villa away, Southampton at home, Crystal Palace away, West Ham away, and then obviously the final day show.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that straight away and you think there's 4 wins, don't you? All right, before they play Leicester.
Southampton could be a tricky one.
Chelsea was saying the same. You know, when they went to West Ham. Southampton picked up not a lot to play for, in good form. So listen, anything's possible. Easier said than done, winning 4 games on the trot. I know we're talking about if Leicester win 3, but that's why I say, in all likelihood, there's bound to be something on the Man United game here at the King Power last day of the season. You would imagine. Hopefully not. Hopefully Leicester have done the job by then.
Hopefully they will have done, Jerry, but I think if you'd have asked a Leicester fan at the beginning of the season, it will go down to a final day showdown with Manchester United for a final Champions League spot, for example. I think any Leicester fan certainly would have taken that.
Yeah, I think you have to be realistic. The fact that we're talking, in the same company as your Chelsea's and Man United, as far as I see it, there's 3 clubs chasing two slots. It's as simple as that. Leicester are in one of the box seats. Manchester United are one of the teams trying to get into one of those box seats. So it's going to be a very, very cagey run-in to the end of the season. But one thing is for sure, Leicester have put the pressure back on Manchester United. There's no doubt about that. Well, even though they haven't won tonight, they've got a draw. It's still heaping pressure back on Manchester United to go out on Thursday night and win. And it may well end up being a shootout here at King Power Stadium come the end of the season. But the way I see it, there's too much football still to be played. I think things are going to happen even before that. Who knows what way it's going to go? I'll have my fingers crossed, hoping it goes our way. And that result tonight will definitely help us, on that trail for Champions League football yet again. But we're just going to have to wait and see. Manchester United are in great form. They've got probably the best midfielder in the Premier League at the minute in Bruno Fernandes. I think he's an exceptional player. And he is somebody who drives Manchester United forward. Can you see Manchester United winning every game between now and the end of the season? Yes, I can, because he is the driving force behind that team. But on the flip side of that, I can also see them slipping up. Walshy and Matt's just named a couple of teams where it's possible. West Ham, very, very unpredictable side. Will they have a play their part in one or two upsets between now and the end of the season? There's so many permutations that we
see. Man United could edge Chelsea out. Chelsea, I don't know the run in Chelsea.
Well, I can tell you now.
Everyone's assuming Chelsea are going to be in there.
Yeah, I can tell you Chelsea's now. They've got Sheffield United away, Norwich City at home, Liverpool away, and then Wolves on the final day.
I can see that happening. I can see Chelsea missing out. I really can. I can see Man U and Leicester doing it
a little
now
draw.
After looking at them fixtures.
Look after each other.
I really can. So, I mean, you tend not to look at Chelsea, but they've got a difficult run in.
Mm.
And then the other factor,
they're only 1 point above us now, so
No, they're not done and dusted by any stretch. But you mentioned it, Dan, about I sort of went off the point, but the goal difference that could be
massive,
absolutely huge. Could be the difference between Leicester last game of the season, for example,
needing a win or needing a draw.
Yeah, exactly. Just needed not to lose, and it could be enough to carry them through.
Yeah. You look at those fixtures. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're all saying this, and it's getting to that stage of the season, and this is what you love about football, Jerry, isn't it? That you look at other fixtures of other teams, you look at the fixtures of your own team, and it's nail-biting stuff, but at least it's at the right end of the table.
Oh, no, absolutely. It's phenomenal. It's been a phenomenal season no matter where you look at it. Even if they don't, they take it all the way till the very end. It's been a phenomenal achievement for Brendan Rodgers in his first full season. And that's exactly what he's done. We've got 4 games left to try and secure a slot for Champions League. And, there's some big clubs trying to chase us down. And we've gone away tonight, got a vital point against a team who have had a resurgence under a new manager. And them themselves, had a slight an outside chance of maybe nicking a Champions League spot. That's been, put to bed tonight, I think, out there. But you've still got some good teams in and around us. And right in the centre of that is Leicester City. And they deserve to be there. They're there on merit, and tonight showed that. And that's the Leicester City that we're used to seeing. And if they continue that for the next 4 games, it's in their own hands. And all they have to do is replicate that for 4 games. I know that's easier said than done. But as I said there before, there's no magic solution. There's no substitution for hard work. The talent is there. The fitness levels are there. It's all about getting the mental side of the game right. They're a match for anybody in this team. And if it comes down to a shootout, would you bet it against Leicester?
No.
Well, probably not. Well, thank you very much, Jerry. That's a lovely way to end it here on City on the Sofa at the Emirates. It finished Arsenal 1, Leicester 1. Thank you very much to Jerry Taggart, Steve Walsh and Matt Elliott for joining us this evening. We'll be back again on Sunday for the Bournemouth game. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff, so we'll be live from 6 o'clock on City on the Sofa. Don't miss it.